Hi guys, this tutorial is going to be an introduction to InDesign and how it works alongside Photoshop and Illustrator. So we're going to start with setting up a file. So once you have InDesign open, click New File, and then this screen should pop up. And I believe for your upcoming assignment, it should be an 11 by 17 in the landscape orientation. So we're going to change the units here. And I already set this up to be an 11 by 17, so just change the width and the height and make sure your orientation is the right way. And we're not going to touch any of the other options down here. We're just going to change the width and the height if that isn't already done. And once you have that, we're just going to press create. Now you can see the page that is created over here. And typically with Adobe Suite and its applications, if you want to zoom in and out, you hold Alt and use your mouse scroll wheel and you can zoom in and out that page. And if you want to pan kind of left and right, hold your mouse and then left click and then kind of drag your screen. Okay, so that's how to navigate around your pages. So now we're going to add 2 more pages to our file. If it's not already open, there should be a tab on the very right that says Pages. Click that. And at the very bottom of that tab, there is an icon with a square and a plus sign, and it should say Create New Page. So let's click that twice. And now you could see how it added 2 new pages. However, it added the 2 new pages as a spread, just because in InDesign it's typically used for magazines, portfolios, and other stuff like that. But for this tutorial, we'd want it as individual pages. So how to do that is go to File at the top left, and then go to Document Setup. And then we're going to unclick Facing Pages. So now you can see, we'll press OK here, that it separates each page into its individual page instead of spreads. So now what's really neat about InDesign is something called parent pages. And what parent pages are is essentially something that allows you to keep a consistent layout throughout your file and across multiple pages. So stuff like page numbers and that positioning of where that is, titles, headers, footers, and other things you'd like to add. The parent page, essentially, once you set that up, you could drag and drop it and it'll be consistent through the pages in your file. So instead of like setting up this one page and then copying and pasting it to the next and the next, parent pages makes it an easier workflow. So we're going to set that up in this tutorial. So you can see already here in the pages, underneath the pages tab is a parent, and it's set up as a spread. So I'm going to I'm going to click the right page over here and delete that. So then the parent page is just one page. And I can see we have one A parent page. And then we're going to create a new one. So right click the empty space in the page tab, and it should say New Parent, and we're not going to change anything here, and we're going to press OK. So now we have 2 parents. And for this tutorial, what I want a parent to be is essentially the layout's going to be like a front cover of a magazine, or highlighting the main ideas of a project. And then for parent B, it's more showing procedural drawings or the process of design and more diagrammatic layout. Before we get started with that, I'm going to set up layers just to separate text and images. And to do that, I already have it here, but if you don't have it, go to Window and then turn on your Layers tabs right here. And I just dragged it to the very right. So I'm going to add 2 layers here. So the blue one, I'll double click it and just type text. Double click layer 2 and just have that as images. And I'd want text above images just in case that overlaps. Then I'll close that tab for now. So first we're going to work on the A parent page, and again the idea I want for this layout is to be sort of like a front cover or something that highlights the main ideas of my project. So now we're going to create a grid on this page, and to do that click layout at the top left and create guides. So for this I want a grid that is 4 by 4, and so I'm going to create 4 rows over here, and you can see that popping up, and then another 4 of columns over here. Now we have a grid that's evenly divided. So there are options here on how the guides are created. So I like it as margins, so it takes account the margins that is originally created on the page. If you want just a page, it'll take account the whole 11 by 17 and create those guides, but I like the margins. It makes it more even since I follow that purple line as well. Press OK. So now I want to create a consistent title all throughout this parent page, this A parent page. And so on the left hand side, there's a large T, and it's your type tool, and that creates text box. So I'm gonna click and drag however big I want my text box to be. So let's just make it 2 of those rectangles for now, and I'm gonna keep a consistent font of Arial and make that around 100. And my title is going to be simple. It'll just be Pavilion for now. I'm just going to make my text box a bit smaller to fit around that text. And that's my text. Now you can see on the right hand side what has changed. Since we're only editing the parent, and if you try to scroll down from the A parent page, you can't see the other pages. But if we click out of it, and then you could see the 2 other pages here. And now you can see how that A parent pages affect all the other pages over here. It'll keep it consistent, and the grid will also show up for each page. So double click again the A parent page to go back into editing that. And now since we have this title, we're also going to create page numbers to indicate which page we're going to be on. So click the type tool again, hold shift, so I want the text box to be square, hold shift and then drag it to your desired size. I'm going to keep the font again consistent, keep it Arial and make it maybe like 24. And to make it know the page number instead of you typing in 1, 2, 3, right click your text box, go to insert special character, go to markers and do current page number. For the parent page, it's just going to show A since there is no other pages here. So I'm going to zoom in, drag that, and I want that at the bottom right of my page, kind of touching the end of the margins. Perfect. And then if we click out of the parent page again and go to our different pages, you can see how that page number changes and stays in the same spot. Okay, go back to the A parent. Now we're going to set up image frames. So on your layers, I'm going to click images, I'll close that. So now we're working in the image layer. And on your left hand side, we're going to use the rectangle frame tool. Essentially, it creates a frame where we can drag and drop images, files, like Photoshop files or Illustrator files, or PDF files, any files you'd like to drag and drop. So I'm going to make a frame that encompasses half of this page, just following those guides. right there. And you can see it follows the layer color, which is red, and creates a rectangle with a X through it. And since for this tutorial I have 3 files that I'd want to place down for my main page, I'm going to create 2 more rectangular frames. And this is going to just take up 2 of those rectangles in our grid. And then I'm going to press V to go into selection tool mode, press Alt, so then you could Alt and drag that same rectangle frame, so you can just copy that frame right there. So now when we go back into each individual page, you can see how those frames are set up there, and it'll be consistent all throughout if you're using that A parent page. And for the B parent, if we double click it, you can see it's empty. We are going to add a 5x5 grid instead of a 4x4. So we'll go again, layout, create guides. We'll make this 5x5, and press OK. And just to show you guys how the different parent pages works, we're gonna hold the B parent page on the right here, just click and drag it, and we'll put it in our second page. And if we click out of it, now we can see the differences in that and how it'll be easy to change layouts for different types of formats that you'd like. To keep the consistent page number, we can just go to the A parent page, click that, and we're gonna copy it, or Control C, go to our B parent page, right click, and you can see there's an option to paste in place. And that's also another tip on keeping consistent throughout, or keeping a consistent layout. There is options to paste in place instead of kind of guessing where that text box would be, and it might mess up the look of all your pages. So then that should follow and be in the same spot. Okay. We'll continue working on the B parent later on. First, I kind of want to focus on how Photoshop and Illustrator can work alongside your InDesign file. So in the file that I shared with you guys, there are 3 files, 1 Photoshop file and 2 Illustrator files. Once you have that, I've already opened them up here, and this is what it should look like. There should be different layers over there, and then your Illustrator file should look like this. One is just an elevation of the simple pavilion created in the Twinmotion tutorial, and then there should be 4 layers, and then there should be a section as well, and should be similar to the elevation except with an additional sectional layer. Okay. So going back to the InDesign file, you can see we have these frames right here. We're gonna go to the file I shared with you, and for the bigger frame, I'm gonna drag and drop the Photoshop file, and you can see it creates an icon. Once you drag and drop onto InDesign, it's not gonna automatically pop down. So I'm gonna click on this big rectangle, and it should fit within that frame. And I don't really like the spot that it chose, so we're gonna double click it, and if we zoom out, you can see the extents of that image over here. If you right click, there's this option for fitting the image in the frame, so you can fit the content proportionally where it fits the whole size of the image within this frame, but I don't really want that. I want just to fill up this page and the frame proportionally. I don't really care for the whole image to be seen. So let's go fit and fill frame proportionally. And since we're still in the double click mode, we can drag that image into a spot that I like. And let's just do it like that. And to edit the text, since this is on the parent page, you have to edit on the parent, and as you can't edit it on the individual page itself. So we go back to the A parent and double click it, and then double click the text, and I'm gonna make it a white font just because it's gonna look better on top of that image. So I'm just gonna press escape and go back, and then you could see how that's a bit better. Yeah, and then for these two other rectangular frames, we're gonna drag and drop our InDesign files. So I'm just gonna move this over here. And for the bottom, I'd want it to be the section. Just plop that there. And then for the top, I'd want it to be the elevation. Yep. So you can see again, it doesn't show the whole thing. So for this, instead of fitting the frame proportionally, let's fit the content proportionally so we can see the extents of our drawing. And same thing with our section. And it should be relatively similar and in the same spot. So since we dragged the files, it is now linked across the platform in the Adobe Suite. So if you want to edit this, let's say I don't really like the line weights of this image or of this drawing right here. So I'm going to click on it, I'm going to hold Alt and then double click it. And then it takes me back to the Illustrator file. So then once we're in the Illustrator file, I'm going to go to the default layer right here. So visible curves default. I'm going to click all of it and change the stroke weight to 0.25. Just so the curve outline highlights it more than the inner curves. So once we change that, I'm going to save it, so Control S, and it should be saved. And then we go back to our InDesign file, and it should be linked. It should update on here. However, the view is not high quality. So I'm just going to change the view. If your view is not high quality, we'll just go at the top here, press View, Display Performance, and do high quality display. For a typical display, the different views allows for the program to either run faster, or if you make it high quality, sometimes the files might be too big and it won't run as fast. So that's just the reasoning for the different display performances. So I'm going to make it high quality so you can see the different line weights that have been updated there. Okay, so you can do the similar thing with the Photoshop file. For the Photoshop file, if you want to just turn a layer on and off, I'll just right click it, go to Object Layer Options, and you could see your different layers in your Photoshop file. So maybe you want to turn the people off, preview that. You can turn it on and off instead of going straight to the file, and press OK. Or you can also do Alt, double click it, and it should open up your Illustrator file over here. Same thing if you, let's say, turn one of these off. Maybe let's turn the people, and then save it. It should update right there in your InDesign as well. So that's a neat thing with working in the Adobe suite, you could work across multiple softwares and it'll be easily transferred as long as the file is linked to the app. So I'm going to turn those people back on, save, and I go back to our InDesign file. And you can see it hasn't updated, but on the top left over here there is the warning symbol. So I'll just click that and it should update immediately. If it doesn't update, once you with the layers window open, there should be links as well. And this, if it's not updated, this should be not grayed out, and then you could update the link. If not, you just have to relink it by clicking this and then clicking the same file so it's linked again. So once we like that, we're going to add a text box. So again, type tool, and we're just going to add it above these two images, following those guides. And since I don't have, let's change the font first. And let's make it like 18. Since I don't have text on the top of my head right now, but for layout purposes, you kind of want to see how text would show up, we could add a placeholder. So you could go to properties over here. You could edit everything here, scroll all the way down and fill with placeholder text. You could also do that without going to properties here, just by right clicking, and then you could fill with placeholder text. Yeah. And press escape. And then if you want to edit this furthermore, I'm just going to put it in the middle here. So just click the text box, right click it, and go to text frame options. This helps with framing your text. So instead of fixing the text box, you could do an inset spacing and changing that, and then how you align it, center, bottom, top. I'll put it in the center for now. And if you want to have columns, or like columns of text, you could increase it here. So I'll make it 2. Press OK. And then just press W. Oh, first let's put this text into this layer, so then we're consistent with our layers. So yeah, press W to see your page layout without the grids and everything that's distracting. Okay, so that's our A parent page. Now we're going to go to our B parent over here, and like I said earlier, I want this to be highlighting my diagrams or my procedure and how I got to my final product from showcased in the A parent page. I don't have photos for this. However, I'm gonna create an example of like if I did have images with the rectangle tool. So I'm gonna have the rectangle tool clicked, and I'm gonna have a fill for it. I'm just gonna double click that and then choose a random color. Click OK. I'm gonna make it have yep. Gonna make it have no stroke, so click the bar over here and the color should pop up. And click no stroke. So now I'm going to create a rectangle and follow the guide for the sizing of that. So imagine this is an image of your drawing, and then we have multiple of them. I'm just following this grid with the margins. And so now you can have 5 drawings up here. And then you could also have drawings here. Let's just copy this. And then maybe you have bigger images. Let's delete this. So then you could have maybe one main image over here. And then if I press W, you can see that layout come about. And imagining your diagrammatic drawings, maybe you just want all of it in the same grid. Maybe you want bigger drawings to highlight or emphasize that it's a more important drawing. If I go back, then you could add text down here, similar thing. Just place placeholder, and then there we go. Maybe you want this to be bigger, and then that could be one of your layouts for your drawings. This could also look like an architectural board, showcasing maybe a rendering here, and then some drawings, and then diagrams above. So that is the introduction to InDesign and the workflows you could use between Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign. So yeah, the key takeaways with this are the parent pages where you can set up your file to have a consistent layout throughout, rather than setting it up manually and then having to replicate it on each individual page. Parent pages helps you have that consistent layout across multiple pages. And just a reminder that if you do have text like a title in your parent page, you are unable to edit it on the individual pages. So if you're thinking about adding text box, just go to the individual pages and adding that text box instead of the parent page. But for parent pages, it should be titles, headers, footers, page numbers, or like your name, so it could be consistent all throughout all the other pages. And yeah, that is the tutorial. Thank you guys.